Hey guys, welcome back to the Para Connection podcast. You're here with Schuler, Nate, Ryan, Kaylee, and Andy. And I do have to say that is a pretty big list right there for PILT's podcast. But you know what? More the merrier. So I'm glad to have everybody on here. And we're going to go ahead and start this podcast about the Jersey Devil. It's a little bit, I think it's a two-way fence here, or two-way road, whatever you want to look at. It can be a cryptid, or it could be a spiritual, paranormal type of thing. And there's a lot of information that we gathered up, especially thanks to Nate here. And along with Andy, you guys have really gathered a lot of info for us. But we're going to dive into that with some questions and a little bit of what facts we do have and go on from there. And to top it off, we have a new mic. So everyone listening out there, if you can tell a difference, please let us know if you like it or if you don't, because we want to come in as clear as you can, especially for Nate and Ryan. They're very, very concerned about our quality. So without further ado, Nate, go ahead and take it away about the Jersey Devil.
So the Jersey Devil takes place in Leeds Point of New Jersey, in the Pine Barrens. The Pine Barrens is a part of 1.1 million acres of the Pinelands National Reserve, which ranges from northern Ocean County south and west and occupies approximately 22% of New Jersey's land area. So ideally, there are a couple different variations of the story of the Jersey Devil, and I kind of want to ask Andy what he wants to start out with, and then we can kind of go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Andy?
Well, the oldest story of how the Jersey Devil came to be that I find interesting is about a woman they called Mother Leeds, who had 12 children. And she had stated that if I have a 13th child, let him be the devil. And so, sure enough, she became pregnant with her 13th child. And when this child was born, the legend states that the child had deformed right in front of their eyes and sprouted wings and flew off into the night through the chimney. And that is how the legend got started. However, there is another story that claims that the Jersey Devil is not actually a beast, but a person as well. There was a man named Daniel Leeds, who was one of the first founders, or not founders, but one of the first settlers, rather. And he was the one who established Leeds Point. And he, during his time in Leeds, he was writing an almanac. And because of certain indiscretions within this almanac, he and his family became known as political and religious monsters, because Daniel Leeds was a Quaker, and they had stated that within this almanac there was profane language, for one, and there were just many indiscretions that the Quakers did not like throughout this almanac. And so because of this, they became known as monsters in their community. And also the family crest of the Leeds had like a dragon type of beast on the crest. And with those combined, the Jersey Devil legend was formed.
Interesting, Andy. So the two theories that I'm gathering from what you just told us is, one, the Jersey Devil is possibly a human with deformities. And then the other theory is it's just a person that's being marked as an ugly person because they might use a bad language or have bad morals, right?
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. But there are actually many, many different twists on the story as well. Like one of them states that a young woman had an affair with a British soldier. And because of this, she was seen as a traitor in her community. And it's said that the people of Leeds cursed her and turned her first child with this British soldier into a beast. So that's another one of the stories. But there are so many different variations.
That's interesting. It just makes me wonder, like, what they did to the child. Like, does it go back to actual witchcraft, or did they just take the child and, like, mutilate her child? I mean, it really makes one wonder what they could have done.
Right. I mean, in a lot of the variations, it does lead to witchcraft, yes. And in others, it's just, I guess, a birth defect, which is odd because I've never heard of a birth defect where, you know, someone can actually sprout wings. But
yeah,
it's just very interesting how many different variations to the story there is.
Well, and there's also, you know, different accounts of what people think that this so-called creature actually looks like.
Exactly.
Which is,
yeah, there's so many different accounts out there that it is hard to ignore that there is some type of a beast out there.
It's kind of like a storytelling. I mean, like, kind of like you know, play like the phone call game where somebody said something, you spread it, changes over time.
Yeah.
To me, that's
that could be.
Well, that's why they think that because of his death, Daniel Leeds' death, how closely it is to the so-called sighting of this so-called Jersey Devil, that there's no possibility that, you know, there would have been anything out there. But like Ryan said, that, you know, that could have been the beginning of the folklore because of all of that, you know, the political monsters that they call up the family. And, you know, that could have just been the beginning of why this story of this monster was created.
What kind of political stuff were they talking about?
So Andy kind of touched on it a little bit, but so Daniel Leeds wrote the American Almanac, which contained astrological data. So kind of similar to, and I'll get into it with Benjamin Franklin. So the Leeds Almanac, as Andy said, had names that were too pagan for the Quakers. So that's kind of like, he was more forward thinking. So then he was told that he needed to rewrite the story. And at one point, he became anti-Quaker. So he was giving out anti-Quaker propaganda. Daniel
Leeds. Okay.
So going into the feud with Benjamin Franklin, this is coming from owlcation.com/social sciences. In 1716, Daniel Leeds retired and turned over the almanac to his son Titan. Titan Leeds redesigned the front page to include the family crest, which, as Andy said, was a depiction of a dragon.
Gotcha.
At a certain point, Titan entered a feud with none other than Benjamin Franklin, who, after beginning to print his first Poor Richard's Almanac, wanted to get rid of some of his competition. During this feud, Franklin predicted Titan's death, then joked that Titan had died and returned as a ghost to haunt him. He wrote of Titan during this period, honest Titan was raised from the dead and made to abuse his old friend Franklin. So it is probably not a coincidence that this feud and Titan Leeds' actual death in 1738 closely mirrors a time period of the supposed birth of the Jersey Devil. So those two dates line so closely together of when this supposed Jersey Devil was created.
Interesting.
Well, I also read in the articles that you found that back then, like to call someone a devil, that was like a really big insult.
Yeah.
And so I could see how that might have
Gotcha.
transpired into the Jersey Devil at some point. You know, like going against the Quakers, who were like the big boys at the time, like the ones that are mostly in control of social situations.
So it's like trying to hurt a family, or
They accused him of working for the devil. That's
Gotcha.
what they said.
gotcha.
No, they accused Daniel Leeds.
Leeds.
Then and that's when the feud started. When the book was turned over to Titan, his son.
The only thing I can think of like a physical, deformation of someone's body would be like if they had an extra calcium buildup and their shoulders were more broad. I've seen deformities like that before, but it's not exactly a wing. But I don't know.
Is that where unicorn started?
I don't know. That could be something, Ryan. Maybe. What do you think, Andy, on Ryan's comment there? Do you think unicorns kind of came in around the New Jersey time period?
Void.
No, actually, I believe that the legend of the unicorn is much, much, much older. There are accounts of unicorns being seen as far as the Middle Ages, medieval times. So it's far older than the Jersey Devil.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's something that we could totally elaborate on. With, all these different cryptids, it is interesting to find out if the timelines sync together. Or, some might go back further than others, some are a little newer, but...
I mean, it could be,
Right.
like you said, if it's somebody came over from Europe or whatever, I'm sure there's a story just the same thing about that, just not called the Jersey Devil.
Yeah.
And they just brought it over and made it into their own thing.
True. Yeah, like mixing species or, whatever. I mean, people did weird things, and we get different species every however many years. It's just like dog breeding. There's some breeds we have today that we didn't have 100, 200 years ago.
Like,
So,
Right.
I don't know. I'm not that fancy with dogs.
Well, the bulldog. For
the
one.
bulldog, thank you.
That's
Karen.
like the British bulldog, doesn't even look like the ugly ones that we have today, because that was actually a deformity of what the natural bulldog looked like.
Yeah. But it's interesting. We're having some rabbit holes here. Anyway, back with Daniel Leeds and political hate views of him being called the Jersey Devil. Nate, do you have anything else on his history? Or Benjamin Franklin?
That was it.
That's pretty much it. All right, then Andy, we're going to throw it back to you. Where do you want to take off from there?
Well, what I found interesting is much like the Mothman, the Jersey Devil has also been seen in several different states, not just New Jersey. Like, there's been sightings of him in Pennsylvania. There have been sightings of him in Michigan. There have been sightings in Ohio. There
And
have
those
been
are recent
sightings.
ones, in the past, I don't know, decade or some half century. Let's give it 50 years.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
Not that comes to mind.
So it could span on so many years. I mean, that'd be something that we'd have to write down in a ledger, like different, dates, years, times with locations. But it's just like the Sasquatch thing, that starts in one state, and today of 2019, it's in like almost all 50 states, even going up into Canada, So, I mean,
Maybe it's breeding and growing.
good. Or
having
it's
children.
or
All the unicorns out there.
oh my God, Kaylee's, you're going
Getting
off, and
sassy, I'm
yeah,
mad.
you're starting to sound like Ryan over there a little bit.
When
Maybe-
you sit next to him, his aura tends to
That's what-
seep into you. Oh.
Having a chemical powwow, Andy. We always have a couple of those every podcast.
Yeah,
or
so
so.
apparently he said about the sighting in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I guess the story is that the police tried to shoot at the creature.
Really? In Pennsylvania? And
it had no effect.
did it say what year? The article you're reading?
It's from Wikipedia.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Don't be hasty.
It does make me wonder, though, with these sightings, what exactly are people citing that they're calling the Jersey Devil? if so many hundreds of years ago it was a political hate title, or it was some type of deformity of a child. Well, what are they seeing now?
Didn't somebody mention some of kangaroo? Name, was that something you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, they said that it looked like a flying kangaroo.
Flying
type,
kangaroo.
Like
so
the body type of kangaroo.
Yeah, it's like during the signs of 1909.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Philadelphia Zoo posted a reward for like $10,000 reward for the creature.
Mm-hmm.
And there's hoaxes, including a kangaroo equipped with artificial claws and bat wings.
Oh my gosh. That's epic. I want to see that as a movie.
What's that, Ernie?
There are some people who've even described it as having like the head of a collie dog, the face of a horse, the body of a goat,
Yeah.
and the wings of a bat. So, but there are also people who claim that it has scales like a lizard. So, I mean, just like there are different variations to the story, there are also different variations to what exactly the beast looks like. But to a lot of people, there's absolutely no doubt that there is some sort of a beast out there. It's been heard quite a bit throughout the centuries, from the mid to late 1700s all the way up to recent times. So this has been going on for quite some time.
So Andy, we'll start with you. What do you personally think with today's sightings, or even going as far as like 10, 50 years ago? What do you think people have been seeing that they're calling the Jersey Devil today with the goat body and all that? Do you think it's a actual rare animal or a spirit creature, or?
Well, actually, I would not doubt that there is some type of animal out there, maybe one that we have not yet been able to identify.
Okay.
And so I don't know. I mean, there's also the case that, more and more animals out there that have, recently been identified are being identified as having, alien type DNA.
Do you have any examples?
There are a lot of different sea creatures.
Ryan, sea
of them-
bugs are also one.
Right.
Have you seen Men in Black?
Yes, I've seen Men in Black.
Oh my God.
Anyway, sorry, Randy. Andy.
Sorry.
Kaylee,
Randy.
Kaylee
She had one sip of apple cider and she's gone.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
It was hard cider.
I'm sorry, hard cider.
What?
Oh, okay. That makes it a little more.
At least you got
The
some of the
podcast
letters.
doesn't need to know that. Let's revert.
So
I was gonna say I've never heard of apple cider having that effect, but okay.
So to be
It
fair,
wasn't
Andy, I called you Randy last week without hard cider. that was Kaylee going with the Randy. I think it's Nate and Ryan's turn. So next couple podcasts, you guys are going to call him Randy eventually. It's a cycle. It's a curse.
We'll say that's his nickname.
That's his name.
So,
Randy Andy.
Well, this group would not be the first to call me Randy, so I'm used to
probably because I'm sitting next to Ryan, and in my head I was probably scolding him mentally, and it came out with the R for her.
We'll just put them together for Randy.
Well, let me just put it this way: I've been called worse.
So Andy, you mentioned that they've been coming out with new findings of new animals that are more alien. What, for example, have you seen in the news or whatever?
Well, I know there have been a lot of different sea creatures that they've been finding that that have been known to have alien DNA. I think I could be wrong on this, but I think dolphins were actually one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
How so?
I don't know.
I'm not a scientist.
I'm just exploring.
Kaylee's over here
your
trying to pick your
knowledge. That's
brains.
bizarre.
She wants
Are you talking
answers,
like,
Andy.
you want to hear like a lamb?
I'm just curious.
Well, this
I'm
is my
interested.
this is my best example. The jellyfish, its blood has medical properties. Never knew that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I never knew that. But a sea creature like that, we can use its blood for like antibiotics, for example.
When you think about it, there's so
Really
much
weird.
about the ocean that we don't know because like it's so unexplored. Like I mean,
Yeah.
to an extent it's explored, but you know, like the very deep.
Yeah.
nether
Oh, like the
regions,
Mariana Trench.
Yeah.
That's
so,
where the megalodons are,
sure.
according to that movie.
Thanks.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, that
No,
was-
I'm just asking questions. Like if you don't know, that's fine. Like I'm just asking questions to like further promote the
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
So
And
if you don't know, that's fine. Like we don't know either,
people,
obviously.
Brian said that people are gone, but for you hardcore listeners out there, we thank you. And if you have answers for Kaylee, please comment below and we'll read those.
This is her phone number.
Oh, this is Schuler's phone number.
Schuler doesn't have a phone number, I have a
It is
team number.
666.
I just find it odd that, you know, these sightings of the alleged Jersey Devil, they're like, some of them are said to have scales, some of them are saying that it's a goat-like creature, it has wings, it can fly. The one that I'm familiar with, it's the creature that has a long neck and, you know, a real skulky, slender face. It's got a goat body, it's got horns, it's got wings. I don't know if it's just modern day people, you know, put in lore, or if, you know, like you're saying, Andy, and I'm in the same boat with you. I believe that there can be chances of like genetic mutation or a new species being bred by, you know, crazy people that want to try lab, you know, secret experiments.
Like alien.
Yeah, like aliens. But yeah. So Andy, well, I was getting your personal opinion again with the Jersey Devil. You think that it's possible to be some type of genetic creature or species that we may have not identified yet, right?
Right, and where I was going with these animals with alien origins is that, you know, it's said that with the Mothman, that creature was possibly from another planet. So I'm thinking, what if the Jersey Devil is kind of the same thing?
Okay.
There's more and more sightings out there these days with you know, unidentified creatures that are alien-like, and so it's perfectly plausible in my mind
Yeah.
that would be the case.
Part of me wants to like study like the anatomy
Mhm.
of the drawings of this so-called Jersey Devil, because
Yeah.
the ones where you see it where it has the really long thin stick legs but like this giant big body, I'm like, how does it support something like that, yet it's supposed to be like less than 20 pounds because it can land on fences that can't hold more than 20 pounds.
Yeah.
So I was like, for me, I'd be curious to see like an anatomically correct
Mhm.
version of the Jersey Devil based
Yeah.
off of descriptions.
Like a
because
sketch.
yeah, because like if it's even physically possible for this thing to exist.
To have a body like that.
Yeah.
So Kaylee, with that being said, before we jump to excited Ryan, hold your thoughts, Ryan, please.
I'm so
I
excited.
Well, I want to know Kaylee's personal thoughts. What do you think the Jersey Devil is right now? Like with what we're talking about, what do you think it could be?
I don't know, from the few articles I've read, like they always say it has wings.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like a horse body has the horns,
Yeah.
maybe a horse head or something. But then like the long thin legs, but then like the light weight to it,
Mhm.
like that doesn't, like for me, like feasibly that's not possible for that thing to exist.
Gotcha. Feel it's like more urban legend then?
Yeah,
something
and
mocked
I mean,
up
if
now.
you're in the woods, like especially at night, you know, it's like you have the woods everywhere. Like
Mm.
it's hard to know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Because we don't have night vision.
We're not equipped
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Who knows? Oh, that's true. Who knows what the future might bring? So you feel like maybe it's the old tale just being resurrected into something that it never was?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Ryan? What was your... Oh, go ahead, Andy. Yeah.
Right. I'm actually with you on that, Kaylee, because, you know, with the stories that are out there, the one about, what was his name? Daniel Leeds. That story was the most plausible in my mind because the other ones seem really far-fetched. I'm not gonna say that it's not possible for a creature to be out there. I don't think that this creature actually is the Jersey Devil, however. But, like I said, it's probably some type of alien type creature or some type of species that we have not yet identified.
I mean, who's to say that it's not the Jersey, that it's not a creature that we haven't seen yet?
Exactly.
That's why I'm trying to say
Where the bones are.
where are the bones at, according to Ryan, which is very valid. It's like people can see things, but until you have the evidence to test it and things like that, it's hard to really say it's this. And I think people jump to conclusions because they're in New Jersey, and so they're like, "Oh, it must be the Jersey Devil." I'll be like, "Well, actually, it's just an alien."
Exactly.
Can you ask your spirit guide if it's real?
No.
We're gonna save the best for last, which is Nate. It's your turn, Ryan. What do you think the Jersey Devil is or isn't?
I don't think it's anything. I think it was just made up.
You think it's so you're in the same boat with Kaylee. It's the old tale just being resurrected.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to it.
Urban legend.
Yep.
Okay. Nate, what do you think the Jersey Devil is or isn't?
I mean, I don't think that it's necessarily how the so-called folklore is. I mean, I think it could be something else. I mean, we don't know what's out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parts of the world that we've not really. You don't have humans in there.
Yeah.
And the Pine Barrens are it's a very densely wooded area, and it's uninhabitable. So there's no one lives in there. But they're also, if you're not supposed to go there by yourself because you can get lost very easily. I mean, there's a reason why they say don't go there by yourself.
That's a good point, because that's another reason I feel that this exists. Because, there have been many, many, many cases of people going into the Pine Barrens and then just completely disappearing, never to be seen again. But, that happens a lot in densely forested areas. But, I would say that's another thing that kind of brings this legend of the Jersey Devil to life, because a lot of people attribute these disappearances to the creature.
Yeah, what type? Do you guys know off the top of your head what type of animals live in the Pine Barrens? Do they have cougars, panthers, bears?
Squirrels.
Well, squirrels, granted, yeah. Killer squirrels.
Oh, lots and lots of squirrels. Let me tell you, they are everywhere.
The Pine Barrens tree frog, a frosted elfin, which is a bird, pine snakes, holoraptic tree frogs.
What is that?
Spotted turtles.
So just reptiles.
Dusky wings, which is like moth.
Mothman.
Eastern hognose snake. Marbled salamander. Rough green snake. Carpenter frog.
I don't know if we want to bore everybody with the boring animals.
Hold on.
Checking.
Grasshopper sparrow.
Did you say dolphin?
No, it doesn't say anything about
A dolphin.
a bear or anything like that.
Okay.
No bigger animals, maybe foxes, obviously,
Yeah.
or medium-sized predators.
They find
Gators.
34 species of mammals, 36 species of fish, 24 amphibians, 30 reptiles, 144 birds.
That's basic birds.
Yeah, basically.
Beavers.
People are just dying from starvation, being lost, I guess,
It
or
doesn't say anything about
being dehydrated.
I mean, you said it's
bears or.
it's a really big area too. Cause how much did you say it said it spanned of the state?
22%.
I could see people getting lost because we don't really have survival skills these days. Most people don't.
And on top of that, we rely on our phones so much. And if you go out there, I'm sure you'll lose service. As we know, when we go to simple little wooded areas, we try to call Andy for an investigation. We don't even have service for that.
Boo.
So I could only imagine being in a giant body of woods like that with no service out there. That'd be kind of crappy.
Domino's definitely does not deliver to the Pine Barrens.
Oh, dang it.
That's like
Hey, I mean,
how far.
Andy, who knows? I mean, they could send out drones if they could take it up, you know?
Well, that's true.
They could drone it in, man. That'd actually be kind of cool if you get service out there and you'd be camping and you could have a drone pizza. Have a drone bring you a
I'm
pizza.
looking at pictures and like it doesn't look like there's no mountains. It just looks very
Flatland?
flat. Like
Flatwoods.
yeah, it's just really interesting
Is
because
there
normally you don't
trees?
see that. With
Andy,
It's
with the Jersey Devil, did anything else stand out to you with the history of it or what this creature is?
Not with the history, no.
Okay.
Like the whole Daniel Leeds story, though, that is something that I did not know before.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, same here. I agree with that.
but the rest of it I knew from many years of research. Because throughout my career, the Jersey Devil, Mothman, things like that have all come up a lot. Unfortunately, cryptids are something that I don't really do, but I do kind of study up on them a little bit because I do get a lot of questions on them.
Yeah, the only thing that I can really, put out there as a highlight about the Jersey Devil being anything of real from the history is the mother cursing her child, and for whatever reason, I guess, and that's how you get a creature like that. In my mind, it'd be a demon. I don't know if I can say this is a spiritual creature or a lot of people are saying it's a physical creature. So
It was because she was having so many children. She just got tired of it.
yeah,
She got tired of it because her husband, I guess, just wouldn't leave her alone. And
man,
by her 13th child, he said, "Let this child be the devil."
yeah, try to end it and mark the curse. Was that Kayla?
Like one of the articles mentioned that like he was kind of a drunkard, like the husband was, and like didn't really try very hard to provide for the family. So like,
Yeah.
Right.
what
Well-
I would want to know is if you guys, if each one of you ran into the Jersey Devil,
Yeah.
what would you do?
Record on video. That's what I would do.
I would close my eyes and say, not real, not real, not real.
Legitimately, what would you do?
Okay, honestly, I would probably have to stand there for like a good 5 seconds,
Here, I'm sorry.
gather my thoughts,
I'm sorry, I found it.
and then try to start recording.
Okay, 1 second. What?
Okay.
Ryan
I found it.
Ryan,
found the drunkard's story of being a crossdresser.
he was probably a theatrical
Yeah,
employee.
Daniel Leeds, the first royal governor of New Jersey. Oh, I'm sorry. Nathaniel Hyde.
Which is the father of Daniel.
Wow.
I'm kidding. His name is Edward Hyde. Is remembered as one of the most vilified, hated governors of colonial America. He also stands accused of being a crossdresser.
Oh wow! Well, good job,
Do
Ryan.
some more research, guys.
Well. So what would you do if you ran into the Jersey Devil?
Yeah, Ryan.
That's nothing.
What would you do if you really saw that little
If
kangaroo
you
demon
did,
thing
if
like
it
that?
existed, what would you do? What can technically the Jersey Devil do? Does it just attack you? That's it? Like it can't
Bring a
like
saddle.
voodoo you?
Ride it.
Giddy up.
That's quite a sight.
I can't take Ryan tonight. He's got too much charisma going out with
Giddy up.
His charisma's through the roof.
Well, would you go and try to touch it at least and see if it really is real or if it's like an animatronic? Would you?
I would touch it.
Will you go up there and approach it? Okay. So Ryan is going to be our official
Alright.
our official Jersey Devil baiter. Yeah.
Did I bring my gun? Shoot it.
Alright.
Yeah. What gun?
No,
Ryan?
that way there's evidence.
Oh yeah.
See, like, there's evidence.
And then we could sell it on eBay and get some serious
No,
money.
no, we can clone it.
That's true.
Clothing.
It could be for like another like secret government for the army. And stuff.
Andy, go ahead and get us off this train that's going down the hill and it's not got brakes on it. What would you do? What would you do if you ran into the Jersey Devil?
Well, first of all, if I saw a creature that ugly, the first thing I would do is I would tuck my head between my legs and kiss my ass goodbye.
Yeah, because something like that doesn't look all too friendly, does it?
No, not really.
Well, and it has glowing red eyes. I mean, it's not exactly the friendliest thing you've ever seen.
Kaylee, what would you do?
Well,
Honestly.
just say I'd probably stand there in fear, probably scream. I'd probably try, like, depending on whether or not it saw me, I'd probably try to, like, hide in a bush or, like, just try and stay outside, but, like, you know, go into cat mode, like, see it, but don't let it see me.
Cat mode?
Yeah, that's what cats do, okay? Shut up.
Seriously, Doctor. Is that it?
No! Dumb. No!
Actually, let's reply.
You would investigate from afar.
My hairs would be standing up. You know how you get the goosebumps in the
It'd
hairs?
probably be your Bigfoot.
Because you need, obviously, the shock factor comes in, and so you're supposed to just sitting there in fear, you can't move.
True.
So that's probably honestly what would happen, is I'd be completely stupid, miss my opportunity to videotape it.
We need to invest into Google glasses, which I know they don't really make anymore, but we need to wear these at all time and hit record and just record everything as we walk around. So if we are in shock, we're going to get it no matter what.
Just wear GoPro.
We can do that too. Yeah, GoPros are good. Yeah. A little bulky, but we do. Nate, what about you? Nate, your turn. What would you do if the Jersey Devil came in front of you and it's just like right there? What would you do?
Not do anything. Probably die.
Die fright?
You can't give
Probably.
up that easily on life.
Would you
No,
go
sure.
There's so
right.
much to live for, Nathan.
Save me.
No, I wouldn't.
So we're going to bring Baxter with us on this investigation for the devil.
He'll snort at him.
So Andy, with the Jersey Devil, do you believe that it's still possible for it to be alive or if it can reproduce? Well, what are your theories on that?
Well, if my theory is correct, who's to say? Who knows? If it is in fact an earthly creature, I don't know, I would think it died a long time ago. But that leads into another theory though. If in fact it did die a long time ago, and people are still seeing it, who's to say they're not seeing an ethereal creature?
Gotcha.
I have one theory is, so I do know, like, based off, like, reproduction things, in other mammals, like, in mammals that, like 100% exist, are known to exist, like, the ones that have mutations, so, like, you know, when, like, dolphins and I think killer whales, I think when they breed, like, the offspring of that, they have, like, basically, like, they're just naturally sterile. And so, what? They can't reproduce.
Sorry about laughing at you.
Then stop laughing. We're doing something right now. We're recording a podcast.
Ryan's laughing at you.
Yeah, I bet you aren't.
Keep going, Caleb.
Anyway, so they can't reproduce, and so I wonder, like, even if this thing did exist, like, it wouldn't have the ability to reproduce. Is my thinking, because they'd just be so mutated.
Yeah.
Studies have shown when different species, like, they're, like, similar, but they're not, like, the same species, did with it, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And have their little babies. Don't look at me like that, Nate. You know what I'm talking about.
Genetic modification.
It's just they're not compatible, and so naturally the babies will not be able to reproduce because
Gotcha. Yeah,
they
damaged
will be
genes.
sterile.
Along with this, I'm curious, what about other dimensional creatures? Do you believe that this thing could be from another dimension entirely? Excluding the alien thing, not universal, but all, like, interdimensional, otherworldly dimensions. Do you think that's possible, Andy? We'll start with you.
It is one of the main theories, yes. And I don't know if it's possible or not. But with a lot of these cryptozoological creatures, they're putting that theory out there. Like, they're using that theory for Bigfoot and just a bunch of them. So I would say, you know, if if people are putting the theory out there, then yeah, I mean, it's got to be possible to some extent, right? So, yeah, I would say there's some possibility to it.
Andy, with that, Ryan has a comment that he wanted to put in with those theories.
Do we think that is an excuse since we can't find any evidence? But they're saying that it's from another dimension because we can't find anything, so they're lumping, like, because they're saying that.
Exist.
What?
You can't prove that it doesn't exist, so haha. Kind of thing. I'm going with you.
I mean, true. Is like, is that the same thing where they're saying, oh, it could be another dimension, but we're just saying that because we can't prove it. So if they're going to say, oh, I'm sorry, it's false, or say, oh, no, it comes from another dimension.
They're in denial of it not existing.
Correct, because they're not going to admit it.
How do you feel about that, Andy?
Actually, that is very plausible
Yeah.
in my mind.
I hate to admit it, but I agree with you guys on that. It is a plausible theory. You know, people don't want to admit that they can't find it. So I guess the best way for those people to kind of take it a step forward would be, what theories could they take to prove that there are other dimensional rips in this world that we live in order for these creatures to pass and go to and fro? Which I haven't really done too much research when it comes to other dimensions. I mean, I guess the spirit world is its own dimension. You know, we coexist, but I don't know how one could set up some type of tech to try to prove if there's a rip in this world to the next, where you can see these creatures who are going to and from, being that we can't capture them, apparently.
Well, who's to say that tech is involved?
True.
If spirits can create a portal to move back and forth from their dimension to ours, who's to say that other creatures can't do it as well?
That is very, very good. I like that. Yeah. And they might be solid. I mean, who's to say that it does, like you're saying, Andy, they don't have to be a spirit. It's just whatever type of ability they have to go from this world to the next. They have that natural ability, I guess is what you say, which we do not.
Right. I mean, there are theories out there that there are some human beings that can do it.
Would you say something to do with like
Meditation?
like Ryan said, what about meditation? Or for me, time travel, would you consider?
So meditation.
Astral
Projection.
Is that what it's called? When they like supposedly leave their bodies.
Yeah.
Oh, you got an agreement?
Astral projection is quite possible. All that is really is a form of meditation where you're focusing so hard on being in a different location that your inner self kind of projects yourself there. So you're not actually there as a solid form, but you are there in a spiritual sense.
Gotcha.
How about you, Nate?
Yeah, how do you feel about the interdimensional theory with the Jersey Devil, Nate? Do you think that's a possible thing? Do you think it's just hogwash for people to say, yeah, it's real, but we just can't prove it? Or
I mean, if it was real, I think it could have. It's possible that it could be older than what they say it is. So who's to say it didn't come from another dimension?
Yeah.
Some other part.
Well, you talking about it being older than what people think, it makes me think about the old tortoises. They can live up to like, what, 100 years or something like that? Those big old giant tortoises.
They can live like 200.
200 years? So, and to us, that's a natural creature. You know, it's a giant turtle that can live for 200 years. So why can't this thing live for 200 years, if not longer? You know, I mean,
120 years.
120 is average. So if a natural creature like that can live that long, who's to say there is something that maybe there's not many of, or they have some type of weird ability?
500 years old.
400 to 500 years old, really? No.
I think something else like that too.
Dear God. Another animal can live that long, Ryan?
Most tortoise species can live up to 170. The longest living at an estimated 255 years.
Big soup.
Well, here's another thing too. Let's say these crypto animals, let's call them crypto animals, they can live this long. Maybe they're not interdimensional. Maybe they are alive. Well, if you're alive for so long, you become smarter, in my mind. Over time, they become more elusive. They understand how to stay away from drones. They understand how to stay away from people and cameras and night vision. I don't know. I'm just saying it's a theory. You know, the older you get, the longer you get to see things happen and change. And maybe they just become more elusive.
Well, and I think some of that, it comes with a bit of sentience in the sense of, like, your intelligence, because squirrels don't know that drones are watching them. You know, so it's like, in order to be elusive, you have to know that these things are watching you.
True.
And to avoid them. And
Yeah.
so it's like, what level of intelligence do these creatures have in order to remain elusive?
That's a good statement, Kayla. I like that. So that would mean that they would have to be pretty damn smart. You know, they couldn't just be some random dumb animal. What do you feel, Andy?
It's possible. I suppose it's possible because, you know, one of the theories of Bigfoot out there is that he is actually an unthawed prehistoric man. You know, just like a sample from the earth that just unthawed, and that's what became known as Bigfoot. And they're procreating and therefore exist all over the place now.
Gotcha.
You know, for the fact that, you know, this could be a creature that has just survived for thousands of years, it could be possible if in fact that theory is correct.
You know, and with that, Andy, too, there have also been known to be like bacteriums or old parasites that have been locked up in ice. And as what we know as global warming happens, they unthaw. And then these new parasitic things or bacteria come out, and then humans are affected by it. So, yeah, who's to say that there's other organisms out there, too, that are more human-like, you know, humanoid, or in this instance, dog-like, and they've thawed, and now they're back alive again. That really does make you wonder, don't it?
Yes, definitely.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but it's making me just want to kind of get out there into NJ and do an investigation for the real Jersey Devil.
You can pay for those plane tickets.
You know what, Kaylee? Hold on. Hold your Jersey Devil horses now.
What if we try to find people who actually try to investigate?
You know what,
for our
Ryan?
podcast.
That would be a really good idea. Bring on some eyewitnesses or people that's actually jumped out there.
Another paranormal team.
Yeah. I like that. Well, we're going to have to dig a little bit and find some of those people and bring them on.
Society of New Jersey.
We're going to have to bring some of these people on. And any of our listeners, if you have any input or stories or experiences, come on aboard. We'd like to hear them. With that being said, you know, it comes down to it where, like most situations or paranormal or cryptid things, you have to investigate yourself. So for all of our listeners out there and for ourselves, if you want an answer, you have to go out and try to find it. And you may never find that answer, but I guess that's kind of the whole exciting part about being a paranormal investigator or cryptozoologist. It's the chase.
Now, here's a sighting that I thought was actually kind of funny.
What you got, Andy?
The Michigan sighting that I know of the Jersey Devil, actually took place in a city here in Michigan called Hell.
Oh yeah, Hell, Michigan.
That's funny.
Awesome.
The devil was seen in hell, apparently.
So guys, it looks like we're coming up on our end time here for the podcast. As always, we typically end our discussions on a optimistic and open conclusion because that's how we roll. We leave it open for everyone to have their own answer. And, you know, personally, you're only going to have the right answer from experience itself, from your own personal experience. You can't take someone's knowledge and be like, yeah, that's the truth. You kind of have to take it and then go look into it yourself. But Andy, do you have any final words, you know, that you'd like to get out for the Jersey Devil tonight?
No, I think that's about it for me.
Wraps it up for you, Andy. All right. My favorite person to ask, Ryan, do you have anything else that you'd like to put out there? No? Kaylee? Any last?
I don't think it really exists. I like the information that I learned about tonight about the political reasons behind it, because like that's historical stuff that has been documented.
That part's kind of true.
It like I can see how things can play the telephone game to become a legend and a myth.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
I like that. What about you, Nate?
They Cryptids.
It would be interesting to talk to somebody else.
Yeah. That's how like firsthand
Just because it
experience.
was kind of hard to find, like.
Can we talk to a survivor of the attack?
A survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's an everyday
From the
attack.
1800s.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool too. Talk to someone that's actually like quote unquote seen it, or think they've seen it, or at least try to investigate. Like, what would they do to approach a creature like this? How would you try to, bring it out, or what would you do to wait for it? Because I mean, when it comes to like ghost hunting, you're just like, where are you? Who are you? Where are you from? What time is it? Can you hear me? This thing, if it's like a physical creature, you can be like Jersey Devil, like Ryan said. Like a cat. You can't do that. I mean, you can.
The horse likes carrots.
I mean, you can, but no. But you don't know if it likes carrots or not. You could try. It's a technique. Me personally, I don't know. With the history that we learned, I feel I'm in the same boat with Nate and Ryan. Well, no, Ryan, you're a little different than Nate's here, but I guess it'd be Andy, Kaylee, and Ryan. You guys kind of have the same thought process here, that it's not really a creature. It's more of like an old tale being brought back. Who knows? Might be a genetic mutation. I mean, it goes back to what Andy said. Who's to say these aren't two different scenarios? Maybe there's one thing in the Jersey Devil, they're just kind of tying it in from a tale that was real, and they're using it for something that is alive today. But with the history being given, I mean, I haven't been out there to investigate. I think it's more of an urban legend. But, until I go to that state, I don't know. So I'm going to leave it open.
My question at this point, though, is: are you guys sure Kaylee was the only one drinking the hard cider?
No, we
No,
were.
they all tasted the fruit of the cider.
Yeah, Andy, I think we all took a little bit of the forbidden fruit juice tonight.
I had my suspicions.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all a little extra bubbly and happy. We want to take this podcast to the next level, and hopefully everyone enjoyed that.
What level is that?
We should like a totally like drunk ass podcast about podcast.
I don't know about that. Right. We have to be
Yeah,
at least.
I think.
Yeah, but we have to.
Be a lot laughing.
We have to act somewhat intelligent. You do know that.
Do we?
Kinda.
This whole experience kind of reminds me of something that I was asked about last week.
And what's that, Andy?
Well, as you guys know, I was interviewed by another podcast, and when they were trying to find our podcast on Spotify, they actually came across a group called PIOT Paranormal on Spotify, and it wasn't us, but they had a podcast up about how beer and other malt liquors can affect paranormal experiences.
Oh, that was actually, the podcast is called Grognostics. Really cool podcast, and we were guests on their podcast, so that's actually kind of accurate. But the podcast is called Grognostics.
Gotcha.
And the whole thing about that is, you don't remember that one, Ryan?
I was drunk.
Yeah, no, we weren't actually drinking on that podcast. But no, it was, we were touching base on about haunted bars or haunted taverns, and talking about the paranormal, and then, because what they do is they go around and they do beer testing, taste tests, and all that fun stuff. So we kind of mixed and mingled two different topics, put them together, and it was a pretty cool podcast. It was interesting. Yeah. And oddly enough, we were not drinking, Andy.
That's lame.
I know it was.
Why not drink? You're talking about drinking.
Well, why don't we just bring Grognostics back on sometime, and then we can all share a hard cider together? That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Andy, we're gonna have to mail you a hard cider with our name signed on it.
Please don't. I have epilepsy that could kill me.
Oh man, well Andy, now you're making me sound like a terrible person. So I will send you a water that says hard cider
Thanks for the
water.
heads up.
Yeah.
Send me an apple juice.
Okay, I will send you an apple juice instead, because Andy, we do not need you turning into what we hunt. You're a part of the physical
Oh my
team.
goodness. You don't hunt people with epilepsy.
No. He would be a spirit if he passed away. We hunt spirits. Yeah, look, Kaylee's thinking a little. She's thinking a little morbid. She's thinking a little.
Wow.
That returns into spirits.
It's got to be spirits.
But that returns into spirits. Though.
So we're hunting people with epilepsy now, are we, Kaylee?
Spirits, but some spirits get stuck. Yeah, Ryan, I don't want to hear it.
All right, yeah, Ryan's over there being his good old sarcastic. What's that other word?
Asexual.
No, not asexual. You gotta help me.
Daryl. You know what I mean? He keeps laughing. It's a legitimate thing, okay?
No, it's where he doesn't believe in stuff. I'm having a brain fart.
Truthful.
No, that is not truthful. Andy, help us. Thank you, Kaylee.
Goodness.
Skeptic. You're being your skeptical self. If you guys are done chuckling up with me, I think I'm done too. Because, yeah, it's been a really good podcast. Hopefully, we still have some listeners out there. But if not, that's okay too.
This probably our last podcast.
Probably
Yeah.
will.
We'll be banned.
No.
Anyway,
No, what?
I'm done.
you guys
Oh.
have to stop.
I miss
All
my
right.
family.
Anyway, to all of our amazing and supportive
say?
listeners
You're
out
my
there,
family.
we oh, you guys aren't done yet?
Oh, you hear that?
Keep going.
I said,
You have to go back. I'm being serious. I thought that's what you said.
oh my God. All right, let's not announce the numbers. We are done here. The end.
Come on.
I think if I were in Indiana right now, I'd have to drive you all home.
You probably would, Andy. You probably would. Well, yeah,
But the thing is, though, is I don't have a car. I'm in a wheelchair, so I'd have to take you all home on the back of my chair individually.
That might be fun.
that'd actually be kind of cool.
You could pull a red wagon.
A red.
Good way.
Wheelchair. And we'll just sit on the trailer.
Oh my God. I hope we still have some listeners at this point. All right, so for the fun stuff, let's see if we can get back on the pathway here. For all of our listeners out there that we still may or may not have, you guys know to go to Google, type in PILT Paranormal. You'll be able to find our website, our Instagram, obviously our podcast, our YouTube. We're going to be putting our podcast onto YouTube for people that don't want to download or have the apps or anything like that. So you can check that out. And of course, any other platforms or guest appearances that we have, it will all be on the Google search whenever you type in PILT Paranormal. So I think that's pretty much it. I think we wrapped up tonight's podcast. We'll have to get ourselves prepared and ready for next podcast, next episode. So everyone done?
Yes.
Yes.
You guys are on sync for once. Good. Nate, are you done?
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and we hope to have you back on with us next time on the Para Connection podcast. And until that time, stay frosty.